Hey yogis! In today's video, I want to talk about reverse warrior. So this is actually an answer to a very good question or multi-layered question that I received from a student. So let me read it to you and then I'll tackle it. Dear Nikki, what is the proper alignment for reverse warrior? I've heard cues about keeping the bottom half of my body in warrior two pose, but I'm never sure what to do with the upper half. Am I meant to be facing the ceiling or side wall? What about my uneven side waist and my back arm? I know this should be a beneficial pose, but often it just leaves me with a crook in my neck. Help. Okay, again, fantastic question. So, it has a number of answers. Reverse warrior is honestly a modern made-up pose. It is warrior two, where instead of being upright, we go the opposite direction. It's a side bend added to regular warrior two. Now, aside from just trying to be creative, there's actually some benefits to doing this. So first of all, in sort of the classical yoga asanas, number one that we get from Mr. Iyengar, but even dating much further back to the yoga texts, there are not a lot of poses that ask us to lateral aside, laterally flex the spine, side bend, right? There's a few, but not very many. And this is actually a really helpful movement for us to do on a regular basis, especially because not much of our daily movements as we kind of go about life, taking care of ourselves and doing the day, not really anything requires us to side bend. So opening up this side of the body is really, really beneficial. Stretches the intercostal muscles, helps us, not shrink, create length, helps us breathe better. It's a really, really good thing to do. So there's a number of poses where modern yoga has sort of taken a classical shape and then added a side bend to it in order to stretch the side body. So this is one of them, okay? So it's a relatively new, made-up variation of warrior two. So when I'm teaching reverse warrior, that's why I teach it on purpose within the theme of a class of side bending, of multiple times throughout the class laterally flexing the spine. In traditional Viratu, we're trying to be pretty even with the side body. So this is why I would teach reverse warrior. Now, on the technical sense in terms of what's the body supposed to be doing, yes, warrior two in the lower body, and then we're literally only attempting to laterally flex the spine. So what that means is we have to be very mindful of the alignment of the lower body. We want the front knee tracking, and I'll demonstrate in a second. We want the front knee tracking, we want the back leg strong, we want the pelvis upright, and then we just want to create a side bend. So one side is stretching when we do a lateral flexion of the spine, and the other side is shrinking. Now what you do with the back arm depends on what you want to do or what the instructor is cueing. And in terms of the neck, I would say each person, each yogi, needs to find the optimal position for their neck, and I'll show you a few. So let's look at it. So we come into regular Viratu. It's our heel to arch alignment. We bend in. We need to be incredibly mindful again of the knee tracking. And then, regular Viratu, here we are. Sides of the spine, pretty much balanced. Now, when I add a side bend, I want to really weight down the top of the femur on the front leg. And the way I teach it is the hand to the leg, but we want to be careful not to push on the knee. And inhale the top arm up and over. So I've got a big stretch going on here, and this waist is shortening, right? Now, in terms of which way is the chest facing, the chest is facing the way it would in regular Viratu. not the pelvis, that's a little bit angled, but the torso. The chest is facing its normal way, then side bend. So the issue here is now, what do I do with my neck? So I come into reverse warrior. Again, I don't want to put a ton of weight here. I see people do this. I think some instructors might teach the hand here, the hand here. I usually just instruct it here. And then it's about the neck in terms of it being happy. So you could look up, you could look straight forward, you could even look down at your back foot. So, I think I'll switch sides to balance it out. Again, I think each practitioner has to find what works for them. You come into your pose, you track the knee. At first, the sides are balanced. Then, you simply laterally flex. So I'm not turning my chest this way. I'm not trying to rotate that way. I'm not trying to back bend. I'm not trying to go up to the ceiling. I'm just going to the side. So for a lot of people, just keeping the head centered and looking in the direction of the chest is going to be helpful. But remember, you could look up. You could also look towards the back foot. Okay? So that's the scoop on reverse warrior. It is a made-up pose, usually taught, if it's a skilled instructor, to get us to laterally flex the spine. So we get this opening on side to side. There's a few other poses where we can creatively do that. Just standing in mountain pose and side bending each way. You can also create a side bend out of triangle pose. There's a few places. But it's super beneficial, and we want to feel like we're opening the side bodies without harming the neck. So the next time you take the pose, play with it. Attend to the alignment of the legs, find your breath, get both sides long, then come into the shape, and then play around with head and neck position. Looking straight ahead is probably the easiest for most people. More challenging is going to be looking up towards the top arm or towards the back foot. Fantastic question. Thank you. Namaste.